Welcome to the Living Artist Podcast. I'm your host, Preston M. Smith. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Living Artist Podcast. I'm Preston M. Smith, at PMS Artwork everywhere on internet land and socials. I want to thank you for landing on this podcast. Whether you're a professional artist, just getting started in the art world, a collector of art, or just consider yourself a creative person, this podcast has something for you. I like to think of it as a fun way to rant and talk to other creative people about living the life of an artist, surviving and getting ahead in the art world, and enjoying your life. But most importantly, not waiting until you're dead to make it happen. All right, let's get started.
We get it. Distractions happen. That's why we designed the fully electric, full-sized Volvo EX90 with the latest technology to keep you and those around you safe. Its two-sensor driver understanding system is designed to prevent distractions and help you stay focused. Reserve your Volvo EX90 today. Learn more at volvocars.com/US.
My dad works in B2B marketing. He came by my school for career day and said he was a big ROAS man. Then he told everyone how much he loved calculating his return on ad spend. My friends still laugh at me to this day.
Not everyone gets B2B, but with LinkedIn, you'll be able to reach people who do. Get a $100 credit on your next ad campaign. Go to linkedin.com/results to claim your credit. That's linkedin.com/results. Terms and conditions apply. LinkedIn, the place to be, to be.
You guys can't see this at home, but we're getting our picture taken hundreds, if not thousands of times.
Yeah, we hired some paparazzi.
The members of LA Art Association submit to have a solo show the following year.
Yes.
And I was sitting in a pretty good opportunity to submit this year because I had done the funeral party.
Right.
And I was able to photograph it in the gallery. Right.
Still, the percentage of getting in there was probably pretty low. Because so many people submit to that.
So many people
Quality
do.
Artists.
And I think, some of the solo shows there, if they have like an installation aspect to them, and if if it's a little bit something different than just art on a wall, I think you might tilt the odds in your favor. I think that might have been what happened with mine. And I think they like
conceptual art.
Yeah. Peter had mentioned, Peter Mays, the director of 825, had seen one of the pieces that I had. It was in Out There last year. And Peter really liked that it was on used drop cloth. Like there was something about it that was so different.
It's great.
Yeah. So I'm feeling really challenged right now because what they accepted was the funeral party. And they allow you to switch it up a little bit, but you got to stay true to that theme. And so for me, I've got this like, okay, I've done that show. I don't want to wear it out.
Right.
I don't want to wear my people out that might come to that show. But I'm also aware that the LA Art Association crowd, none of them have seen it.
No, so it's going to be a completely different audience.
Yeah. Scott Mescal's hammering me to change it up some. So I was
going to ask, are you going to add any pieces?
I do. I have a few pieces, two of which I don't know that even you've seen.
Oh, really?
So I'm going to stick with.
Don't show me. I want to see him live.
Okay. So you're coming.
I'm coming.
Nice. The coffin will be there. It has to be. I think that's a huge part of why they accepted it.
Yeah, for sure.
And I have some new stuff I'm working on.
Cool.
And so that's in May. But seriously, what I'm even more excited for right now than that is Sarah's show. That's opening on March 7th at
She's
Shockbox.
Getting some press right now.
She is.
Yeah.
Yeah. She's we put an ad in Artillery.
Yeah.
She has an interview that'll come out in Asymmetric magazine from Leah Perino.
Very cool.
Been a great friend of the gallery and a great artist in her own right.
And we've had her during a couple shows as well. Yeah.
Sarah is she's in the program. And what I really appreciate about her being in the program is she's kind of the poster child of what we were trying to accomplish with Shockbox in the beginning, right? Is that we're on Instagram putting out art calls. Some new artist who had never shown in a gallery from another part of Los Angeles showed up to be in that addiction show. And her work is just I mean, so powerful.
Yeah.
Right. And she shows up in a way where she's going to participate. You sort of can't deny that she's there. And what she's done to her work from a couple of years ago to now, right, is just level after level of awesomeness.
Yes.
And to watch her,
she got on the fast track.
She put herself on.
Well, that's what I mean.
Yeah.
I mean, she did the work. I'm not taking that away from her. I'm saying when I was talking earlier about paying your dues, she basically paid her dues on steroids.
Right.
You know, she was just all of a sudden, she's all over the place. She's creating a bunch of work. She's getting a lot of shows. Didn't she have another solo show?
Yeah. So she did. She's funny. She'll talk about it when she comes on, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But when she decided that she was going to paint, she quit everything else she was doing and she paints. She paints full time.
She does.
And she is not afraid to approach galleries. And she's got work in a gallery in Australia. She has work in a gallery in Israel.
Nice.
She's got work in Art Space Warehouse, which is a great place to have work and be represented by. And then the best part of it all is she calls Shockbox home. You know, she did do a solo show upstairs at Tag Gallery earlier. And then we started talking about doing it at Shockbox. And what I really appreciate about this show is Sarah has gone underground with work that a lot of it's starting to pile up in the gallery right now. So I've seen it,
nice.
You know, but it's not on Instagram. It's not on a website. Like, you're going to have to come to the show to see this stuff first run. And
that's great, because so many people, I think, avoid shows now because, why do I need to go to a show and I can just see the new work on Instagram or on Facebook? That's cool that she's kind of keeping the mystery alive. Yeah.
I think artists have done that since the beginning of time, right? If you're working on a solo show, you try to keep it low key, but there's a lot of pressure nowadays to give teasers and taste of what you're doing. I'm glad she's doing that. I think there's pressure to give teasers, but I think a lot of us have so much, such a dependence on the like button. Oh my God. Know? And it's like, if you make a mark on a page and send it out, it's like, do you guys like that? Should I keep going in that direction? You know, I learned watching. Don't analyze me, Mike. You do get a lot of likes. You know who Crayola is? Greg Simpkins. Yeah. He's the best. And, I've gotten to know him a little bit, and I watched him via social media and in person get ready for a solo show a few years ago. And I knew he was working on it. And I know that he just went absolutely dark on anything new. Nice. Kept his social media presence alive. Hey, Flashback Friday, or you know what I mean? Like, he kept his fans engaged. Yeah. But knowing he was working on it, watching him keep it under wraps, and then walking into his solo show the night that it opened, you walk into this like, whoa. Wow. I've never seen this, right? Which was obviously something I tried to do. How did he do this? You could watch him do it and wonder how he did it, right? Like, the guy's a genius. Yeah, but, for sure. But Sarah gets an A+ on what she's hidden, you know? Well, when we were hanging the last show, I got the opportunity to go in the back and watch her starting one of her big pieces. Oh, the big, yeah. I've seen a little bit of the progression, but I'm excited for the show. It's going to be a great show. Yeah, I predict that big one will still be wet when we get it on the wall, because that's she's coming down to work on that one tomorrow, and she's still got some work to do, but it's going to be good.
I was raised in an environment where I was born in Russia, and my parents were always supportive of all my hobbies, including painting, and they had watercolor, tempera, everything I need to just doodle, to paint. Nice. But as people say, you need to be practical, you know, you need to I think that's the same everywhere. Yeah. So they basically supported you, and only as a hobby though, right? But exactly. Yeah. Yeah. My parents were similar. They were always encouraging me with sports and with acting and with painting and music. And then, but my dad always said, well, be careful, Preston, you know, you don't want to be a jack of all trades, master of none. So they were always like pushing me to try to focus on something. But it's funny because now all these things kind of come into play. You can do your art, you can show it on YouTube, you can do the podcast, you've got social media. It's just amazing. You're so right. You know, every life experience that I had, it was leading to this very moment. Exactly. Because my native language is Russian. Yes. So I became interested in learning and reading in English and German, just because I love I still love languages, any foreign languages. I'm also learning Italian, French, just because I love comparing.
Oh, nice.
Words like.
Wait, so you speak 4 languages?
I'd say I speak 3. Russian, English, and German. But I understand and can read Italian and French, just because they are all Latin-based, Roman-based language. So you understand the similar roots and
definitely
second guess the meaning of the words.
It's funny because I always find that people from foreign countries, they are always very modest about their languages. They're like, yeah, I speak 3 pretty well. And then an American will know 50 words of a different language. And they're like, yeah, I speak 2 languages. It's like, no, you don't. You know how to curse. You knew how to curse about 10 times and then say, where's the bathroom?
Right.
Well, that's really impressive. I'm always impressed by anybody who can speak more than one language. Do you find that goes into your art at all? Or also a sub question, I know you have 3 kids. Mm-hmm. Does that also feed your art? You can focus on one or both if you want.
Yes, definitely. So if we talk about first starting with the sub question. So it was one of the reasons why I decided not to go back to teaching. I was a university professor, teacher, tutor, whatever you can call me. It was quite stressful. I was at everything that I ever did, I was trying to be not the best at it, but to give my all to it.
Right.
And when I came back home in the evenings, I was just exhausted and stressed out after a whole day of teaching to people a little bit younger than me, they were 19, 20 years old, and I was like 25, 26.
Oh, wow.
So it was also, not easy. And then I was thinking, what should I do? Because I love languages, but maybe there should be some other things. And then a friend of mine, she just she just mentioned that she takes those amazing art classes at a local art school for that.
Yeah.
And so I just joined it. Why not? I had time. At that time, I was pregnant with my 3rd kid and I was already on maternity leave. So I had some time to spare. And I loved it so much. Just the medium, the feeling of the texture of oils and the effects I can create with them. I don't know. It was nothing like watercolors and tempera and pencil. Nothing like any medium I tried before.
I completely agree.
I fell in love with it. Yeah.
Oils are amazing. I love them. I just love the texture. I love the smell. I love the shine of them.
Right.
Yeah, it's so great. Well, that's cool.
So I decided painting so much. Every day. And my house was full of paintings. The house of my parents was full of paintings. All my friends had a lot of them. Yeah, I decided, my husband said, why don't you open an Etsy shop? Why don't you try selling them? And I did that.
And what year was this?
Somewhere in 2012.
Okay. So around 8 years.
Yeah, 8 years ago. I first set my prices very low, and it worked, because, people liked my work, and with time I got good reviews, and I didn't need to come back to my old job anymore. So when my kid was already, and maternity leaves are very long in Russia. So you could, especially, if you're a teacher, you could stay home with your kid for a year and a half.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And I realized that this art business that I had gave me time to spend time with kids. And I usually, right now, I start my work in the studio when the school bus leaves.
Okay.
And half an hour before it comes back, I already clean up my brushes. So that's my school day. That's my work day.
Oh, and that's awesome.
About, I don't know, maybe 6 hours, 10 hours, 7 hours a day. So works for me, kids come back. So I'm mom again. Hello.
Right. You put on the mom hat.
Yeah, right.
Sergeant and Mr. Smith, you're gonna love this house.
Bunk beds in a closet?
There's no field manual for finding the right home. But when you do, USAA Homeowners Insurance can help protect it the right way. Restrictions apply.
Earning your degree online doesn't mean you have to go about it alone. At Capella University, we're here to support you when you're ready. From enrollment counselors who get to know you and your goals, to academic coaches who can help you form a plan to stay on track. We care about your success and are dedicated to helping you pursue your goals. Going back to school is a big step, but having support at every step of your academic journey can make a big difference. Imagine your future differently at capella.edu.
Did you start doing a little bit of figurative stuff at this point, or is this still just like lettering and all that?
So the cool thing about graffiti was that by the time that we started doing it, the figurative was already part of the game. Mm-hmm. So the lettering is the basis, right? Yeah. So everyone has to learn the lettering, but characters were now becoming a thing, and it became a good way to enhance your piece.
Yes.
So you couldn't just be a character guy. You had to be able to do both. You know, and it was still the foundation of graffiti is still in lettering, but that's kind of how I came up with my style too. That I have now is, you know, you have to be unique. You have to be original in the way you do everything, or else you're a toy and you're a biter, right? The biter is someone that you steals from other people. And so what I decided to do was like, I said, how could, you know, I love doing figurative stuff, but how can I do it in a way where people will identify that work as mine and it'll be unique to me? And, you know, what was coming out of New York was a lot of like these flat, B-boys, which were like these characters, mostly like a side profile, and they had a Kangol hat or glasses, and they were usually like beige or skin color, flesh color with a black outline.
Yeah.
And in LA, we had artists like Hex and Slick, who were two of my favorite artists. They were doing like, oh my God, I mean, like the characters were like so realistic, and they weren't doing outlines anymore. They were just doing shading, almost like airbrush work.
Yeah.
And so that was very instrumental to the way I developed, and seeing that there's another way to paint. But then still I needed to get even more unique. So what I ended up discovering at one point was that if I painted my characters the way I filled in my graffiti letters, then I would have a unique style. And I started messing with that. And first I started messing with like markers.
The begins.
Right. And so I first started messing around with on paper, you know, with markers, colored pencils, that kind of thing. And I started realizing like, you know, instead of using, and it's funny because I use so much color, but in my mind when I'm painting, I'm not looking at the color, I'm looking at the value.
Yes.
And that's one of the things that people don't sometimes have a hard time understanding, because they say, wow, you like to use so much color. And I'm like, well, yeah, but it like this needs to be dark on this side. It doesn't need to be green or blue or red. It just needs to be dark.
Yes. Yes.
and then that's the color that plays off the next color, and so on and so forth.
And it gives you the shape.
And it gives you the shape. Exactly. Yeah. And so I realized like, and that probably started happening like in the mid 90s when I started developing that style. And, I just ran with it. I was like, okay, I'm just going to try this and keep doing it. And I remember when I did my first mural, my first portrait mural was in Highland Park, in the streets. I got so much positive reaction because people were like, they couldn't understand how I did that.
Awesome.
You know, people were like, oh, I really dig it. And it became right away. I was like, okay, this is it. It's like, you know, one of those light bulb moments, right? When you put it out there to see what people are how they're going to react. And then you're like, okay, they get it. They're liking it. And I needed to explore this some more. So then that's where it started, you know? So, and then also my other characters, which were not portraits, but like just coming out of my mind. My crew that I ran with, that I still hit up, is COI, and it stands for Cause of Insanity.
Oh, nice.
And so that was my major influence growing up. In my crew, we had some guys who were known all over the streets just for their tags and throw ups. They were all city. There was other guys in my crew that were like super well known for lettering. You know, at the time in the early 90s, mid 90s, we were like one of the top crews in LA. And so my crew members really like showed me and taught me a lot about everything. And we would sit together in a room and draw. And so a lot of my letters, started coming out of working together, but then also my characters, because I started like feeling like freedom to like make things elongated and give something, 5 arms instead of 2. And because that was part of our crew, we were cause of insanity. So there was like no rules, right? Like
ultimate freedom.
Ultimate freedom. It was the more insane our stuff looked, the more it made sense to our crew. So that had a big play in kind of in my psyche. So I just kept going with all those kind of styles and, kept moving forward. And, the interesting part to all this, while all this is happening is, like I mentioned earlier, I knew early on that I want to do this for the rest of my life. And I don't know how or whatever, but somehow I knew that I could market my work and that I could sell it and I could make money. No one was making money at graffiti at that time. There was like, I wasn't, I heard like, oh, this guy did an album cover, but it was like a one-off, right?
Yeah. You can't make a living off of one album cover.
Yeah. There was very few people that were making any kind of living, with art, let alone with graffiti. But I was determined. And so I started doing stuff, and I started like literally asking neighbors like, hey, can I paint your garage? Mm-hmm. And just buy me the paint, and then the next time, hey, can you give me $50 and buy me the paint, And I remember one time I was painting a board at my grandmother's house, and I was up on her driveway, and a car pulled up, and this guy jumped out of the car, and he goes, wow, that's awesome what you're painting. If I brought you a canvas, could you do something like that? And how much would you charge? And I was like, yeah, I could do it. Maybe like $100. And he was like, I'll be right back.
Done.
And he came back with a canvas, and I painted it. And that was the first legitimate art sale I had ever done in my life,
Oh, wow.
And so
you gotten paid for your murals a little bit, but like selling a piece that somebody could take home.
Like selling a canvas. I never sold a canvas before, right?
That's awesome.
And so I remember started telling my friends, dude, like, let's put this on canvas because people will buy it, Yeah. Because in my mind, it's always been like, you have to prove things, right? And so I by someone buying my piece, it proved to me that there's a market out there. It proved to me that somebody wanted to put it in their house and wanted to pay money.
Well, and they approached you.
Yeah. And they approached me.
Yeah.
So that's one person. So, Crazy. I'm not saying we're going to hit everybody, but there's got to be some percentage of people out there who who want the same thing.
There's a market for it. Yeah. Yeah.
And my friends they fought me tooth and nail. They were like, no, we can't do it on canvas. It doesn't make sense, blah, blah, blah. Fast forward to many, many, many years later, I opened up the very first graffiti gallery in Los Angeles. And now I'm representing all my friends.
How long have you been doing art? I know you've been doing it professionally for maybe 3 years-ish?
Yeah, I think it's going to be, 4 years this year.
4 years.
Like
okay,
full-time, cool. Like full-time professionally 4 years, yes.
Oh, very cool. That's nice. Congratulations. And it is not easy. Yeah. So how long have you been doing art? How long have you been interested in art? And maybe you could talk to us a little bit of the transition from, just doing art into being a professional artist.
Yeah. I think art has always been part of who I am. It's always been around. I've mostly growing up in France, we had art classes weekly. And we would go to museums, exhibition.
Wait, they have art in France? I'm just kidding. Sorry.
I thought so.
Yeah, I guess.
But yeah, it was part of like no matter what was your interest as a kid, as a teenager, art was just right there. And I've always loved it. I was a drama in France in high school, we have majors. Mm-hmm. So I was the literature major and a drama minor. And drama it was really cool because it was the art of theater. So it was not about acting per se. It was more about going to plays and really looking at the decors and the acting. So that was my first, I think, full education in art in general. Yeah. When it was like a very intense 3 years of doing that. And I loved it. But then the classic story, then I went to college. I came to America, and I don't think myself or even my parents would have supported. They didn't want to support like my art, and I didn't even know exactly what I wanted to do.
That's a pretty standard story.
Yeah. So I did a classic path of getting a degree and got my master's, and I worked in tech in San Francisco. It was really cool. I liked it. It was very creative. I was in product and marketing.
Oh, cool.
And then when I got married, we moved from San Francisco to San Diego. And because I'm a planner, I knew that I wanted kids, and I didn't want to do an 8 to 5 when I go back and forth with my kids and having this job. So I was like, you know what, let me just stop everything and focus on what I really want to do, which I knew was art. I wanted to paint. I wanted to throw paint. I wanted to learn more about it. So I did that. The day I quit my job, I think I started doing art every day until now. I paint pretty much every day. If I'm home, like I'm always doing something. If I'm in the studio, I'm always doing something. Yeah. So that was kind of the transition. And it was a scary transition because I had a full-time job. I knew what I was doing, sort of. I had a salary that I was getting every month. But I think my husband was great. He was amazing at supporting my dreams. Like, listen, like, it doesn't matter if you're getting paid every month if you don't love it. If you take a year off, like, it's scary. Take a few months off and see what you can do with this. Yeah. And run with. And I was very lucky because he's my partner. So it was more about like, you know what, like now I can support you for a while until like you reach your dreams. Yeah, that kind of worked out. And I was really, I don't know, I loved it all. Like I loved meeting other artists. I loved like you, like this is great. Yeah. I love taking classes. I taught a class. I'm teaching classes here and there sometimes, but I love taking classes from other artists because it's not the formal way of taking a class. Like you're meeting an artist and it's a workshop and it's opening your mind on so many new perspectives and as an artist, but also as a person.
Yes.
But yeah. And I think what I love about it also is that it's not like you're reaching a position of saying like, oh, let's say you want to be, I don't know, a lawyer or a doctor, which those are great paths. But then once you reach like, okay, I became a doctor, great. Like, then like, I don't know, like this is what they do.
Now what?
Yeah. For me, like, I love the fact that it's always moving and there's always like something new and you can change your art anytime when like it's just evolving with you.
Definitely. I love that too. You're always moving the goalpost. You know, there's always something to be, as long as you are a person of interest, you're going to be interested in things in the art world in general. There's just so many things that are fascinating that you can delve into. I'm sure you found this too in your own work. There are pieces of your own work, of your own paintings where you can go, oh, I liked what I did here. And then you can do a whole series based off of that one little idea. It's just amazing. It's so endless.
Cool. Yeah.
Yeah. It's very cool. I'd love to hear that. And how long did it take you to kind of feel like you got the hang of it and you're like, okay, I can see this actually moving forward and, you know, making a little bit of money here and there and, you know, selling your work and just creating and seeing it as a viable option for you to keep going? How long did that take, you think?
I mean, honestly, it took me to be confident to say like, hey, I'm selling this.
Yeah.
It took me a good 2 years, I think.
Yeah.
And before that, I'd probably sold a couple pieces because I was part of a gallery here, but I was not confident enough to speak about my art and also market my art and talk about money because that comes, if you want to be a professional artist, that comes with it.
You have to get comfortable. Yep, exactly.
So that took me a while to get there, and I'm still working on it. But I think I'm definitely better at it. I'm more confident. I don't know if I'm better, but I'm more confident now.
Yeah.
At doing the marketing side and speaking about selling my art without feeling like, I don't know. There's an artist. It's always this thing like, oh, I'm just an artist. I don't care about selling. But it's my profession. So you're a professional artist, so you should be able to sell your art and speak about your art.
Yes. And I'm going to go out on a limb and say, I think that that's BS because I came from that. I did art for 12 years and I would sell a piece here and there and I was working a job that I hated. And if you would have asked me back then, if I was brutally honest with you, I would have said, oh, I'm just an artist. I don't care. But it was more of a rationalization for me at the time. Of course I wanted to be selling my work. Of course I wanted it to be in people's homes and having people look at it and be inspired by it. And part of that is making some money so you can continue on with your craft and also so it can get out there into the world and get into people's homes. So I call BS on that a little bit with most artists. I do think there are some people who just love to do art as a hobby and that's great. But if you're trying to do it as a professional artist, I mean, that's kind of part of the deal, right?
100%. Yeah. You have to wear multiple hats and embrace it all.
Yes. That's a good segue, because speaking of different hats, well, and I wanted to talk to you about your background. You said you were doing marketing. You said you studied theater. I also was a theater major in college. Theater.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So I loved all. I did acting too and all that. But all of those things teach you like a different technique or a different skill. Thank you. Mm-hmm. So what did you learn from marketing and theater and all the stuff that you could put into your practice?
Oh, wow. Yeah. No, I feel like I learned so much from, so my job in tech, for like the last job I had, I was on a computer, and then I was with very creative people in that world. So that really taught me that not to be afraid of using something else on the canvas. Like if you're on a computer and if you're building something, if you want to make your own website, or if you want to have your Instagram and all that for product base, I'm always afraid of starting, but once I get in there, I'm like, no, you'll be able to solve things. Take your time. You can resolve anything. Yeah. So that, and also being in marketing. So in the marketing part, I think that part, as an artist, I think things changed a lot during the pandemic.
Definitely.
So I learned most of my marketing skills as an artist during the pandemic, learning from other artists on different platforms, artists that had classes online for just marketing your art and being comfortable doing so. My learnings they're very recent, and I'm trying to adapt to what's going on now, because everything has changed so much during the pandemic for artists, I feel.
So much. And what was the impetus for this? Partially just because you couldn't go into your gallery anymore. You didn't have the ability to have the brick and mortar gallery and sell work through there or go to classes and stuff like that. Was that pretty much why you made the shift? Or were you kind of going in that direction anyway?
I think I would have gone that direction, but it would have taken me longer, because I was so comfortable, and I was part of a gallery here with multiple artists, and we had a great group going, but it was it was in San Diego. It was in our small town, in a neighborhood where we didn't reach as many people as the internet, obviously.
Right.
But it was very comfortable. So it would have taken me, I was already interacting with people, selling some of my art through this gallery. So I don't think I would have pushed myself to do what I'm doing now if the pandemic would have not happened, which is for me is a silver lining of the pandemic.
Yeah.
And now I'm really happy that it happened for us as artists, because we do have more control over our work. We have direct connection with collectors, and collectors understand this world where it's okay. You can buy art through a website or through Instagram and speak to the artist.
Yeah.
And I love that I've connected with so many people. I speak to 3 or 4 of my collectors like friends. Like we text here and there, and they live in different parts of the world, but it's all thanks to the pandemic and Instagram or whatever other social platform that you're using.
This has been the Living Artist Podcast. Thank you so much for listening. I just want you to know that I appreciate you being here, and I'm grateful to be in your ears. Your art and creative life on this planet is meaningful, so thank you for sharing it with me. If you like this podcast, whatever platform you're listening to it on, please subscribe and share it with your friends. You can also leave me a positive review to show your support. This helps me to reach more people with the algorithmic magic and keep the show going strong. If you want to see more of what I do and check out the art that I create, you can visit my website at www.pmsartwork.com or follow me on social media everywhere at PMS Artwork. That's it for now. See you back here next time.